The shift in power on Capitol Hill means new chairman for the House committees, and Congressman Ed Royce of California wants to run the powerful financial services panel. He's picked up a key endorsement from the Wall Street Journal and apparently a key ally, Sarah Palin. Congressman Royce joins us now from Capitol Hill. Good morning to you, Congressman. What do you see as the prime difference between yourself and Representative Bachus, who's also vying for this job?
Well, if we look at the concerns that I've had on the committee, moral hazard has been one of them, and I worked very carefully to try to control the systemic risk at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and offered legislation on the House floor to try to do that. My colleague and I were on the opposite side of that debate, and along the way, I think the systemic risk concerns that I have that come out of moral hazard don't just apply to issues like the problem we saw with the government-sponsored enterprises. It also includes my concerns about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the way in which we've set that up, where the safety and soundness regulators, the prudential regulators, do not have a final say on these safety and soundness issues. Instead, it is the CFPB that makes these decisions, again creating in the system with Dodd-Frank the opportunity for moral hazard. I've seen in the past what happens when we don't address moral hazard, when we don't listen to the prudential regulators. I've tried to listen to them and enact legislation to address these concerns. That's where my focus is.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned some of the other things that financial reform will bring to bear. It's viewed on the street that because Republicans have the House here, they'll control the purse strings, right? So are you supportive of some of the funding towards issues that will affect derivatives, hiring staff at the CFTC, getting more people working at the SEC to help regulate and carry through some of the changes that Frank Dodd put in place?
Let's start with the SEC, because I've long been a critic of the culture at the SEC, and with the case with Markopoulos arguing before us and trying to lay out the over-lawyered nature of the SEC, the way in which those with practical experience in the market were shut out of the process. I am for changing that culture at the SEC. In terms of the CFPB, as I shared with you, right, I am for changing the law there to allow the prudential regulators to have the final say on safety and soundness issues. We've got a $500 million budget made available for the CFPC, and right now we've got academics arguing the case over there, trying to direct that new institution without the input of people who really have the experience as regulators and the concerns over what you and I would consider the basic issues of safety and soundness. So yes, I am very interested in trying to re-engineer the way in which some of these institutions newly created conduct their operations. And I also am worried about access to credit for small business, right, and that we go ahead though. So
do I read what you just said as you're supportive of funding to bring new blood into the SEC and to increase staffing there? Okay. I want to ask you about this debate that's literally being had globally today about quantitative easing. Ben Bernanke doesn't like it to be called that. But give me your view here. Are you in the Sarah Palin camp that says basically this is dangerous money printing?
Well, I'm in the camp of the president of the Richmond Fed and the Kansas City Fed and Minneapolis, Dallas. Within the Fed, the camp that is concerned that this is just printing money. And I am concerned also that the effects will not be the desired effects. In other words, first of all, I'm worried about the consequence in terms of a potential bubble in the bond market. I'm worried about the commodities bubble that might occur as a result of this. And so I think that at the end of the day, in '03, June of '03, we saw what happened when interest rates were set. Nominal real interest rates were set at a negative level, and part of the consequences of that were asset bubbles, right? Bernanke pushed that initiative in 02, 03, 04. For the next 4 years, we saw very, very low interest rates, and there was the warning at the time that this might cause a balloon, an asset bubble. In this case, it happened in the housing market. We're now worried about an asset bubble in commodities. So this is the debate that's going on within the Fed, and I associate myself with those Fed presidents that share this concern of mine.
All right.
Based on past experience.
Congressman, we'd love to have you back on the program as we track your progress here. Interesting to hear your thoughts this morning.